So usually I do videos because I get a bit of inspiration, or I've got a thought on my mind, or something like that. This video I feel absolutely compelled to do. I just have to do this video. Let me explain. I posted a picture on, there's a Facebook group called the Nikon mirrorless or Z mirrorless cameras, and as I say, it's a group on Facebook, of which I'm a member, having got a Nikon mirrorless camera. And I posted a picture of this guy, the 58 1.4G lens on my mirrorless camera, and said that I was off to a wedding, I think it was the following day, and looking forward to using this lens. And the comments are unbelievable. I think we're up to about 120 comments now. And it's really seems to have polarised opinions about not just this lens. I mean, a lot of the comments are directed at that lens. But the sort of feeling I get from people commenting, and also a lot of the other questions and comments and stuff coming up on that Facebook group about the Nikon mirrorless cameras, I just feel there's two camps, and I just feel I need to do this video to comment. There's two camps. There are those photographers who feel that they need, dare I say, the latest gear, the sharpest, best lens that anyone ever made. The image quality is about perfection. It's about no chromatic aberration. It's about no light fall off. It's about sharpness from the center to the edge. It's about all that stuff. It's about the sort of gear that I had when I had the Sony A7 III with my three Sigma 1.4 lenses. The images I got from those from that camera with those lenses was beautifully sharp, crisp, clear, and I hated them, to be honest. They were just so flat and dull and boring. They could have been a smartphone picture. And that's why after 2 years I came back to Nikon, which I've used since early 90s, and have now ended up with the Z5. And why, what are we now, 10 days ago, I got the 58 1.4 lens. And I have done a video talking about that lens, but as I say, we've got those people who have this this view of photography that means we need sharpness, clarity, perfection, basically. And I get that for some people, for some photographers. If you're a wildlife photographer with a 400mm zoom lens on, photographing something 200 yards away, yes, you want a high resolution camera and sensor, you want super sharp pictures. I get that. That's totally understood. If you're photographing architecture, I can see that you want to be able to see every detail in every brick on every building. No, you know, that's fair enough. What I'm talking about is more general photography and people. And let's face it, even if you're a wildlife photographer or an astrophotographer, if you've got a camera, you probably at some point are going to be photographing people. And I used, obviously for 2 years I was doing weddings, and I used the Sony with the Sigma lenses to photograph people. And as I say, I did not like the images. So when I came back to Nikon, I was absolutely determined to make sure that I had gear that gave me the look, the sort of images that I love, because I don't know what my wedding clients want. I can't read their mind. I don't know whether they want sharp images or whether they want character-filled, atmospheric images with depth and feeling and emotion. I don't know. So over the last, I don't know, 4 years or so, I've come to the realisation that it's not about giving the clients what they want. It's about me doing what I want, and hoping there's enough people out there that like what I do that will book me as their photographer. And having, in the last 3 months, done 30 odd weddings, I guess there are enough people who like what I do. Sorry, Must have a ghost in the room or something. So the point of this video is that there's more to photography and cameras and gear and lenses than sharpness. Please, guys. As I say, if you're in the wildlife and architecture and those kind of things, where sharpness obviously is important. If you're photographing a product, and I do a few commercial shoots, I photograph products occasionally, not very often, but I have done it. And yes, obviously you want absolutely tack sharp images, no question. But coming back to general photography and photographing people, I don't think you want sharp images. I believe that character, depth, emotion and all that other stuff is way more important, and that this lens, and the reason I got this lens, is because that's what it gives you. Yes, I've still got somewhere the 50mm 1.4G lens, which has a really nice look to it, but this just goes another step further. And I don't like to say I'm right and that I know I'm right, but I know I'm right because the photographers that have earned a place in history, the current day photographers who produce images which people buy, these are people who do not produce sharp photos. Let me just show you, there's a picture on there. Let's just talk about these two photos. These two photos, the one on the right is by Saul Leiter, shot, I don't know when, I haven't done all the research, probably in the 70s in New York, and that obviously, it's a great photo. It's been printed, it's in art galleries, it's famous. That was shot with a Leica, and we'll come back to that in a moment, with a Leica camera, obviously film back in those days. And on the left, the lady on the tram, the subway, I think that's, actually I do think that's in London, is by Joshua Jackson, who also happens to shoot Leica. And if you look at both of those photos, they're not sharp. If you zoomed in 100% on that, you would be horrified at how not sharp those photos are. But they are superb photos. And they are the sort of photos that I like to give my wedding clients. And if I just show you a shot from a recent wedding, in fact the wedding shot with the 58 last weekend, that is one of the shots I've done of that wedding. Now, I'm not claiming for 1 second that I'm in the same category as Saul Leiter or Josh Jackson, but that's what I aspire to. These are not sharp images, but I believe and I hope, and from the evidence, my clients do love these. People love photos like this. This is real world photography. This is where I don't care less about sharpness. It's about whether the image says something to me. Does it have a story? What does it say? And just going back to what I mentioned about Leica, one day I want to own a Leica M240 with a 50mm 1.2 or 1.4 lens. The M range of Leica cameras are, of course, manual focus, and I've talked about manual focus with the 7 Artisans and the 50mm 1.2 Nikon lens. That's the very old lens. I've talked about that in a previous video. And whilst I love doing that for weddings, I'm not that good at manual focus, so this guy gives me images which are certainly every bit as character filled as from this lens, but do make it at least possible for me to get some focus on some of the photos. So you have to ask, well, so why do people use Leica cameras? Why do I want a Leica camera one day? And the answer is because of the image quality. And when I say image quality, there are going to be many of you who think image quality, but they can't be good images because they're not sharp. So let's redefine image quality as being the character. because Leica cameras with those sort of lenses on do not produce sharp images, and yet an M240 second hand is going to cost 4,000. One of those lenses is probably 5,000 or 6,000. And I cannot believe that people, photographers, are paying that kind of money to get a camera system that produces anything less than world-class images. I've been rambling on a bit, but I hope you've got the point. Guys, sharpness, apart from those genres that I've mentioned, for general photography, for people, for stuff like that, sharpness comes somewhere down the list. As long as it's good enough, then it's good enough. It doesn't need to be any better. So if you're watching this and you're a member of the Nikon group, and you're fairly new to photography, and I've seen many questions from people who are fairly new to photography, just get some balance, okay? Yes, the new Z lens, the new the new S-line lenses for the Z cameras are along the lines of all the other camera makers' lenses currently being made, which are focused on being sharp. And yes, you can buy a 24-70 f4 zoom lens for your mirrorless camera, and you'll be able to photograph lots and lots of different things. You'll miss out on all the character. So I just a suggestion: get something old. Doesn't have to be a manual focus lens, but get something old. Get an adapter. Put it on the camera. I'm talking prime lenses. A fast prime lens, so 1.8 or faster. Put it on your camera, and if you're fairly new to photography, take 10,000 shots with that. Learn not about the gear. That'll come anyway, whether you try it, you'll just pick it up. But learn and focus on getting photos that have feeling, emotion, tell a story. That's what you want to be working at, because it's that is so difficult. And in fact, will take a lifetime to perfect, and you'll never actually perfect it anyway. For what it's worth, they're my thoughts. By all means comment, but bear in mind that we all have an opinion. This is just my opinion. There is no right and wrong. So please keep the comments polite. And bear in mind, I'm not wrong. I can't be wrong because it's my opinion, but backed up by decades of photographs like that. Bit controversial, maybe? Anyway, I'll see you next time. If you'd like to subscribe, obviously, please do so. Hit the bell and you'll see any future videos, should you wish to see any future videos. And have a good day. Best wishes. Cheers for now.